Welcome to Uncle Jimmy's podcast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation.
What do you both think about fear?
I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations. I'm here to live up to mine.
He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life.
Fear is a teacher.
And I don't skip class.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Uncle Jimmy's podcast. Today, I've got a special guest who's not just crushing it in one of the toughest industries out there, but she's doing it with real heart, real family values, and a ton of wisdom to share. Let me introduce to you Mackenzie Shelton. Mackenzie is a powerful real estate agent and team leader based out of Omaha, Nebraska area. She's been licensed since 2014, and before that, she spent years as a property manager, so she knows this business from the ground up. She's now the founder and CEO of Prairie and Pine Real Estate Group, where she and her team help families buy and sell homes, especially residential properties, and those beautiful acreage and rural land deals across the Omaha Metro, Lincoln, and even into Southwest Iowa. But what really stands out about Mackenzie is how she leads. She's a wife, a mom of four, a woman of faith, and someone who's intentionally building a life and a business that feels good on the inside, not just looks good on paper. She's all about creating that supportive, uplifting environment for her agents and her clients, helping people build something sustainable instead of burning out chasing the next deal. On top of her own thriving real estate business, Mackenzie coaches and mentors other agents who want to do the same. She helps them create referral-based businesses, build strong teams without losing their sanity, find balance as parents and entrepreneurs, and really leads from the heart while still hitting those big goals. Mackenzie, I'm pumped you're here. Thank you for carving out this time. Let's dive into the coaching side of things because I know so many listeners are either in real estate or thinking about building something bigger in their own life and business. How are we doing today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited for this. And that was a great introduction. Loved it.
That's one of my famous things. Everybody loves my openings for them. And I tell people, right, you've probably been on a couple podcasts, maybe more than that, but I take this serious. And like I say, if we can get the ear of one person, right, that's going through it right now, that's in the real estate business, that needs some help, and we help that one person, right, we've done our job. And I take a lot of due diligence on who's coming on the show. I make sure that I do some research. And it's not one of those shows where you're just coming on, right, just to answer a few questions, because we're going to get into some, the deep things of what you do, where you are in life, what you're doing. And I'm excited. So Mackenzie, tell us a little bit about your journey, right? You went from property management into real estate back in 2014. What made you make the leap, and what were the early days like for you?
Yeah. So when I graduated college in 2010, obviously the job market was atrocious at that time. And I was really struggling to get a job doing just about anything. So I really did stumble into the real estate space and property management. It kind of morphed into doing property management for several years. And then I was actually going back to school for nursing. I wanted to be a nurse, and my boyfriend, now my husband at the time, was like, Mackenzie, I'm not sure you're compassionate enough to be a nurse. He was like, you're working for a real estate brokerage. Like, why don't you just get your real estate license? And at first I was like, no, I'm already on this path. Like, that's great. And then I kind of reflected and I was like, shoot, I think maybe he's right. So I went ahead and got my real estate license. And then quickly moved to, I was working at a very, very small real estate office. And within a year, decided to move to a national brand and really just kind of took off running from there. So, yeah.
And what was that like? Like you said, you were going to go for nursing, right? And it's one of those things, right? Like a noble cause. You want to go to nursing, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get into the real estate business, right? So that brings me to the next question of, you're known as the acreage queen, right? In the Omaha area. How did you carve out that niche with rural land and acreage properties? And why do you love it so much? I can say before you answer the question, right? I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was on your Facebook page today, and I saw some of your videos, and it's like so amazing just to see, because I'm here in the city of Boston, right? We don't see any of that. Beautiful landscapes. I saw you with, there's some cows out there and some other things. It was so beautiful. Like, I envy you almost, because it's like, besides doing the real estate and all that, I don't want to do any of that. I just want to retire on a farm and just be left alone, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
nobody knows where
funny.
I am. I just have me and the animals.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's really funny. Just to be totally transparent, this is not where I thought my life would lead me. I grew up in big major cities. My dad was actually in the natural gas industry, and we moved around every few years. And actually, Omaha, Nebraska was the smallest city I had ever lived in. So mostly grew up in Texas, Dallas, Houston, very, very big metropolitan areas. And when we moved to Omaha when I was in high school, I was like, I am getting the heck out of here as soon as possible. I'm going to, go to one of the coasts or go to a big major city and all the things. And what it really came down to was I'm very close with my family, and I just really didn't want to move super far away from them at the end of the day. And so I stayed pretty close to home to go to college, and then ended up meeting a guy who is from a very small town in Iowa, about 45, 50 minutes away from the Omaha metro. Really just it was this like very slow evolution over the time that we've been together of like he always wanted to go back to living in the country. We were living in Omaha when we got married and had young children and everything. And it was just kind of always like a tug at us. And it was one of those things where I kind of chose to embrace what his dream was without really knowing what it would look like for me and whether I would even really like it, to be honest. And so when we did move we actually live outside of Omaha, Nebraska on the Iowa side. So we technically live in Iowa. And when we moved out to the country in 2017, that first year was pretty rough. I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know if this is the right lifestyle for me. The city felt very far away. I had to drive 20 to 25 minutes just to go to a grocery store. We had to change like a lot of things about how we were living our lives. Like where we live, like you can't get Uber Eats, you can't even get a Uber or Lyft to drive you, back home. Like, I mean, we're pretty rural. So it was a huge lifestyle adjustment. But honestly, what has kept me here and what has allowed me to kind of embrace it is like seeing the life that my kids have got to live. It is just so different from the life that I grew up living. And it's a little bit slower and it's just peaceful. And I didn't realize how much I was missing that in my life until I started kind of getting a taste of it. And so it's just been this beautiful evolution of like, now I garden and we have livestock and, just we actually moved a few years ago to an even bigger acreage than what we had lived on previously. I want more people to have the opportunity to experience the life that I have lived now for the last 9 years. And so really that's why I've kind of chosen to specialize and niche down in helping acreage clients because that's just really my passion. And now, especially now that I've kind of gotten into more of like the homesteading space and things like that, you really do have to like kind of overhaul everything that you do in order to embrace that kind of lifestyle. So I like to help people kind of along that journey. So yeah, it's you are one of, thousands of people that have probably said to me, like, I'm just so jealous. I love like the way you live. And I'm going to be honest. I wish everybody could live like this because that's really how much I love it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's the closest I got was, and not even close I got, but I was in Montana visiting my nephew out in school and to see just the land out there and just, I got in a car one day and drove 2 hours one way, 2 hours the other just to see it, right? And I was literally, I think 10 minutes into the drive and I lost cell phone reception and I was like, oh, this is beautiful. I don't have to listen to a
Absolutely.
call. I don't have to take a text. I don't have to email anyone back. And I just drove and it was beautiful. But to see, right, there was like, he's up in the Bozeman area, which is beautiful, but it's 10% of the population of Montana is in Bozeman because it's a college place. So it's very, populated and dense. But once you step outside of there, there's next to nothing. Like I saw so many houses, so many miles apart where I was like, oh, that'd be awesome. No neighbor next to me, nobody to bother me. Right. And just something that's so cool. So you're a wife, right? A mom of four, a homesteader, and running a real estate team, right? How do you balance or integrate all of that without burning out?
Yeah. So, it's funny. I actually was recording a podcast earlier today on my podcast with a gal that was like, I just asked her, I was like, hey, what's your one piece of advice that you would give to, a mom who is trying to start her career and has young kids and all the things? And she was like, balance is a myth, right? And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I love your word integration. That's a really good word for kind of how do you do all of the things? Because I have people ask me that. It's like, how do you do all of the things? And I think it really comes down to, like, I am very, very systematized and process oriented and driven. It's how I have run a successful real estate team. It's honestly how I have run a successful home life and, even homesteading. We have a lot of systems and processes in place in order to be successful at whatever I'm doing. And there is absolutely no way that I do all of that on my own, right? I have support staff on my real estate team. I have agents that help with things. My husband and I are a fantastic team. We literally sit down every single Sunday evening and go, all right, what do you got for the week? What do I got for the week? What do you need my help with? What can I help you with? And it takes a lot of planning and dedication to making sure that your schedule is as refined as it can be, because otherwise you'll never fit everything in. I mean, just today, we have a very big greenhouse on our property, and this is my first kind of year growing a lot of things in a greenhouse. And I had all of the best intentions to wake up early and go water it before I had to leave for the day. And that just didn't happen. So then I said to my husband, I said, "Hey, you have to leave after I do. Can you go make sure to water it before you leave?" It's a lot of teamwork and collaboration. And I swear by systems and processes. I also really believe that I actually talk a lot about this in my book that is going to be coming out next month. That is how you find peace and serenity in your life, is by not not indulging in the chaos, right? Because it is very, very easy when you're busy with no matter who you are. If you are a single person, if you are a married person, if you have children at home, if you're a grandparent, it is so easy to live in the chaos in every single stage of your life. And as long as you don't indulge in that and do your best to live by the systems that you have established for yourself, your life's peaceful for the most part. We can't prevent everything, right? Sometimes we get thrown a curveball, but to the best of our
No,
ability,
exactly.
that is what helps keep us grounded and not feeling like we're going to pull our hair out all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I say it, Mackenzie, right? So many people, right? So many people live Groundhog Day, right? And if you don't think that that's chaos, whether you want to believe it or not, that's chaos. I tell people, you want to live in a Groundhog Day where you wake up every day, you do the same routines, you get the same breakfast, you get the same place of coffee, some people, doing the same routine every day, right? And at the end of the day, you balance in your checkbook, you don't have anything left, all the bills are paid, right? Or maybe some don't go paid. For me, that's chaos. And if you want to live in that, and a lot of people, unfortunately, have learned to live in the chaos and thrive in the chaos as well. And as a society, I think we need to take a step back from that, right? And get out of that whole rat race and realize we're all in this together. Some days are going to be better than others, right? And before I get to the next question, I just want to say for everybody, right? Mackenzie mentioned our podcast. It's called Roots and Roofs: Success in Entrepreneurship and Motherhood. Yeah, you can find that on Apple Podcasts, and probably, I would guess, wherever you can stream, she's probably there.
That's correct. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah,
And what's the name of the book going to be?
it's called The Serenity Solution. It's freedom from control, perfectionism, and the need to do it all. And it really is a book mostly designed for women, mothers, people in the entrepreneur space, or high achieving, career driven women that are just burnt out and tired of, like you said, living in the rat race, living in the chaos, and want something different for their lives. I use a lot of neuroscience and also faith-based techniques and methods in order to help people find the peace that they really want at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you've founded, right, and led Prairie and Pine Real Estate Group, right? What does your team look like today? And what kind of culture are you intentionally building there?
I love this question. So, I've had a very interesting journey as a real estate team owner. I actually started originally in a partnership, and unfortunately, after a couple years, we decided to go our separate ways. And so I ended up actually taking over the team as the sole owner, like 2 months before I was going to give birth to my daughter. So it was definitely not optimal timing as far as like
I was gonna say
becoming the
nothing like
sole
the best
owner.
time.
No. But that's what's funny about owning a business is like, is anything really a good time? Nothing is. So I kind of ended up on this journey of like, I kind of had to revamp everything because I was now the sole owner. I was about ready to have a baby. There were just a lot of things that I needed to kind of restructure for myself. And so I've really been kind of like almost rebuilding it since like 2022. We started the team in 2019, and it has turned into honestly something I'm really proud of and really beautiful. I was very intentional about who I was bringing on the team. We have very strong standards and expectations around what kind of how many houses are you selling, right? And things like that. And it's allowed me to have a really great culture of people who actually like want to show up and want to work hard. They are very client driven and client motivated. We really push building long-term sustainable business through like really deep connections with your clients. You don't need to have 1,000 clients. You need to have, 300 who repeatedly want to use you over and over again every time they need to move. And then they tell, their cousin and their brother and their grandparent all about you, right? And so fostering really deep, meaningful connections with our clients is what has helped all of my agents grow. Most of the agents on my team are doing more than, really anywhere between 7 to 13 million in production. And in our area, that's really great. And so they're all making a really great living. I'm going to be honest. I don't know about other areas, but at least in our area, there are some real estate teams in our area where those agents are barely scraping by. Like they would be better off going and working a, $50,000 a year job with the amount of work that they are doing compared to the money that they are making. So I really do pride myself on having a team where we all are super collaborative and very, just kind of a good culture overall. Everybody is friends and they call each other for advice and to complain about whatever, tough situation they have going on. So it's been this really fun thing to build the last like 5 years. So yeah.
It's almost like you're building a second family, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, right, you help agents close many deals a year, right, with systems and support. What are the non-negotiable systems or habits that actually move the needle for your team?
So we actually have monthly standards that we require as far as how many connections they need to be making with the people that they know or going and meeting new people if you don't know enough people, which ultimately translates over to how many closings are they actually doing every single month. So we have minimum standards around that allow them to have kind of a bar and an expectation for like, what should they be doing every single month and who should they be talking to and what should they be saying? I figured out many years ago that really designing my business around something to give back to people was always a really great thing because people are more receptive to that. So we do a lot of events and giveaways that we essentially are inviting people to participate in. And so we're giving something back to the community and then in return saying, hey, give us your business when you're ready. And it really has turned into like a very beautiful way to kind of just organically get business and not feel like we're just having to, pound the pavement and talk to strangers all day. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also coach, right? And mentor other agents. What's the biggest struggle you see with most real estate agents facing right now? And how do you help them overcome it?
That is a great question. I would say I think the biggest struggle I see is agents struggling with consistency in their business. And this is a product of them not knowing who to talk to, what to say, and when to say it. Or not having a plan, like I just mentioned, around like, hey, what are we doing to like help engage with the community in order, or like your community, right? Your people that you know. in order to generate business more organically. A couple of my coaching clients came to me at the beginning of the year with like basically nothing in the pipeline. They weren't sure where their next deal was going to come from. And we put some of those things in place that I was just referring to. And now they are, I mean, their business is booming, right? But had they, you know, started in January and didn't really talk to people until maybe March, April, May, they might not be having the year that they were having. So it's all about just consistently continuing to connect with people every single week for whatever reason you're kind of creating for people, and that is ultimately what gives you consistent closings. That's what helps you not have months where you're like, I have no idea where my next paycheck is going to come from. And that's all super important to real estate agents because we don't get paid until a deal closes. So you might be showing people houses or you might be going on appointments, but if you're not actually getting people to the closing table consistently, you're going to go months without actually having any income. So yeah.
Yeah, you got to get them to the table and you got to get that pen in their hand, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And the big thing is, one of the things that people have to realize, right? And you hit it right on the head, is in any business, right? I don't care what type of business that you're in. It's building, growing, nurturing, fostering relationships, right? Because that one person that you have a relationship with, right? And you keep growing that, right? Nurturing it a year down the road, 16 months down the road, they may come to you and be like, hey, my sister's cousin has a house to sell. Next thing you know, the sister's cousin says to you, hey, my uncle got a place to sell. Next thing you know, it's word of mouth, right? Because you've built that relationship with them. And it's key, right? And it's not just for me, a standpoint of a relationship built out of business, right? It's a relationship built out of, first off, getting to know one another, right? And then, right, if business does get attached, right, eventually, that's a deal that's done. But it's also on a human level, right? Human to human level of getting to know somebody, getting them to know a little better, right? Maybe sending them a birthday card on their birthday saying, hey, happy birthday, right? So you're always keeping that relationship going.
Yes. I always tell my agents, we are not transactional agents. We are relationship built agents. And it really does stand true. I know probably every single person listening to this podcast is like, yep, I know a transactional real estate agent. I closed a deal with them and never heard from them again. That's not the kind of
Ever
relationships
again.
Yep, exactly. That's not the kind of relationships that we want to build with people. We want to hear from you months after closing. We want to hear when you have a baby. We want to hear when someone passes away. We want to hear when you do improvements to your house. One of my favorite things ever is when a past client sends me a photo or a video of something that they have done to the home that I helped them buy. It is just so much fun to be like, I've been in this home in like 3 years, but you just updated the kitchen and like that kind of stuff is really exciting to me. Like I I want to hear from all of the people that I've had the opportunity to help because you do work so closely with them for really just a short period of time. You get to know each other really well. You get to know a lot about each other's personalities and the things that they like and don't like and even sometimes some of the really hard things that they're going through. So like I want to keep hearing from them because ultimately at the end of the day, I've ended up with people who I helped several years ago and we just kind of were like, okay, are we friends now? And like one of the folks that I helped, I am not kidding. Like I was randomly referred to these people. I didn't know them at all. And she is now one of like my best friends. So that's the kind of real estate business that I want to build. That's the kind of real estate business that I want my agents on my team to build and my coaching clients. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you want to be in this business for 20, 30 years, that is what you have to do. Otherwise, you'll get burnout and you won't do it anymore. So,
Yeah, and building those relationships, lead to longevity in the business. And that's a big thing. And not even just in the business, but in life. Like you said, you met, your best friend, on one of those. And it's powerful because, again, I'm a true believer of if you're nice to people, even if it's a simple, hey, someone you meet on the street, you never know what someone's going through. You tell them, hey, have a great day, right? You could change their whole trajectory of their day, of their month, right? You just never know. You just never know. And you just never know who you're going to bump into, whether it could be your new best friend, whether you're selling them a house or selling them some acreage, right? Next thing you know, hey, we just had our first baby, or we just, We just like you said, updated the kitchen. You see a picture and it's pretty cool, right? To still have that relationship with them where they still text you or would send you an email, right? With some pictures. That's what it's all about. It's not all about making the money and then it's over.
No, I'm a really big believer, I'm faith-based, so I'm a really big believer in the fact that, like, if you take care of people, the money will come because God will provide, right? Like, yes, I don't wanna do my job for free, I do need to get paid at the end of the day, but ultimately, if I take care of people the way that I would want to be taken care of, then the money will show up one way or another, so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talk about building, right, a business that feels good. More peace, more profit, less chaos. What does that actually look like in practice for an agent?
Well, good question. So a little bit of like kind of what I was talking about earlier with getting really consistent. But going back to the systems and processes, I just think that's probably one of the biggest things that real estate agents you don't learn that in the real estate courses, right? The real estate courses are designed to keep you out of real estate jail. Okay. They're just teaching you the laws, the rules. That's about it. And so a lot of people get into this business and they're like, okay, I'll just start showing people houses, or I'll just list this person's house. Somebody taught me how to use the multiple listing service so I can input it in there. But I think that people that really end up being successful in this business treat it like an actual business where they are looking at their P&L every single month and saying, okay, I made this much money and here's what I spent it on. And here's how I'm reinvesting some of that money into my business. Here's the process that I have for putting a listing on the market. Here's the process that I have for helping a buyer find their house, right? A lot of those things, you definitely need to make sure that you are picking a brokerage that is going, or a team that is going to kind of like help guide you, because it just isn't something that is taught in like the real estate courses, or even sometimes at the brokerage level. Sometimes you've got to go get a mentor, be on a team in order to really like learn a lot of those things from people that have kind of gone before you. So, yeah.
Yeah, the ones that have been in the trenches with you. And so one thing, right, I love that you share is the idea of doing it messy, right? Can you explain what that means and why it's so important for growth?
I think there are so many people that are just afraid to start doing whatever they desire to do. I, you know, I started writing this book last year, and I just had to start doing it. You know what I mean? Like, there were days where I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say here. And I just started typing stuff. A lot of times it's like getting out of your own way and stop having limiting beliefs or reservations, or even just hesitancy, fear. The fear is, I think, what prevents a lot of people from just starting and doing it. Or in the case of a lot of people in real estate, I was actually just talking with one of my team members about this the other day. Like, there's just this huge fear of rejection, especially from the people who already know us. Like, we think that getting a no is like them rejecting us. No, I've had to like help so many agents reframe that to like, it's just a no, not right now. It's not a no, I don't want to work with you, right? They don't need to move right now, or they don't know somebody. You know what I mean? And that's okay. It's not a big deal. We tend to internalize the no's, or we tend to internalize the rejection as like a personal thing against us. And when we can reframe that as just like, that opportunity was not for me, or I actually do need to go sit down and refine how I was doing this because I was doing it too messy to begin with. Like, we need to not be afraid of failure, and we need to take that fear and actually turn it into action. Because I feel like I hear this from people older than me. It's like, oh, I wish I would have done X, Y, and Z. I wish I would have written a book. I wish I would have started a podcast. I wish I would have had the courage to change careers when I was in my 40s, like whatever it is, And I think a lot of it is just like, we don't just take action and figure out how to navigate the messy middle, or the messy start, or whatever it is. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so how has your faith, right, and personal values shaped the way you lead your team and coach others?
So Our team is very much grounded in faith, family, business. I'm very much a believer in the fact that yes, we all need to operate our business to the best of our ability. But I just recently actually went through this. We were having this day. I think I actually did a short reel on this on my social media. We were having this day where I was scheduled that evening to go to a kind of a conference get together for my real estate brokerage. And I definitely wanted to go. I definitely wanted to be present. It was for a lot of the top performing agents in the region. And it was definitely an important thing for me to be attending. But I'm watching my husband in the morning do mental gymnastics of like how he's going to get one kid to baseball and how he's going to, get from where he needed to be to pick up my daughter, to get home, to get to the game, and all these things. And I just kind of took a second and was like, I don't have to go to this. Like, I don't have to. I was choosing to. There's some things in business, unfortunately, that are not a choose to, right? But this was just not one of those things. And at the end of the day, I'm not living what I preach, what I tell my agents to live their life as, if I'm not putting my family before my business in circumstances like that, right? And we can't do that all the time, or we might not have any income, but it really is important to sometimes reflect on, is this something that you have to do, or is this something where your family should be coming first, or is this something where even your faith needs to come before your family, right? Like, are you just really struggling mentally and need to sit down and pray and give things up to God that are really burdening you right now? And in turn, you're actually not being nice to your family because you're stressed out and you're anxious and whatever it is. I grew up Catholic, and it's funny, like being an adult. I went to Catholic school. I was just surrounded by Catholics, like pretty much my whole adolescent life, right? And now being an
Me too.
adult. You're from Boston, so that makes sense. Yeah. So Omaha actually
Yeah.
has.
Irish Catholic, yeah.
Yeah. So Omaha actually has a huge Catholic population. Huge, huge, huge. They have so many Catholic schools, Catholic churches. A lot of Italians were settled back in the day. And so it's just kind of, I guess grown from there. So because Omaha has such
Yeah.
a big Catholic population, like I said, I felt like I was just always surrounded by Catholics when I was growing up. And then as an adult, it kind of was like people have like very different ways that they express their faith and
Yeah.
about your faith. Like you can be loud about your faith. You can express it, and it is a way to help people when they're going through hard times, right? Like if we're going through something hard, it's okay to like say like, hey, like you can lean on God for this. And so I honestly do a lot of that with my team. Not everyone on my team is faith-based, and that's okay. But, I'm always like, hey, like this is something that I would be praying about if life was really hard. So, yeah.
Yeah. So looking ahead, right? What are you most excited about for the future, both for your team and the agents that you coach?
I am in the process of continuing to grow my team. I really would like to add some agents in some very strategic areas because we cover Omaha, Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, and the Southwest Iowa area. And so I'm always looking for agents to help grow my team. And I really just want to kind of get to a point where we have kind of covered all of these pockets of our kind of general area so that we can make sure that we are servicing people in all of those locations. And I think the other thing kind of with like coaching is I'm always looking for an opportunity to help the person that I was 10 years ago, right? Because I think that I've always been told like you're best equipped to help the person that you were 10 years ago. So not only with my coaching clients, like a lot of them that I work with are, the agent that I was 10 years ago, but also like from the perspective of like writing this book, I really wrote that book as the mom that I was 10 years ago, right? So it's weird. I kind of like live my life like who can I help that is like living what I was 10 years ago. And I just want the opportunity to bring value to more agents locally, more agents even regionally and nationally. I have some big ideas for like a real estate course and all of these things, but maybe that will be sometime in the future after I finish writing this book and getting it published and all the things. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So, as a homesteader, right, and hippie cowgirl, what's one simple habit from your home life that actually helps you in your business?
It is okay to not be perfect at something. Homesteading is a lot of trial and error. Gardening, raising animals. Unfortunately, we tried to raise goats, and I think we unfortunately killed more than we had the opportunity to raise. It's always just kind of a journey, because a lot of times you're doing things that are not necessarily replicated on another farm or another homestead. So like you can read things, you can, YouTube things and stuff like that. And some of it is, replicable, but a lot of stuff is like you just have to figure out what works on your farm and your land and things like that. So I would say, kind of to the point that I made earlier, it's okay to do it messy. It's okay to not be perfect at something. Just keep trying and experimenting and saying, okay, that didn't work. Maybe let me try something different next time. I think I lived in a world of like trying to be really perfect for a long time. And that is probably the one thing living on an acreage and homesteading has taught me. Yeah.
So, before I get to the last question, right, what is the official release date of the book and where can people find it?
Great question. So, official release date will be June 1st, and you will be able to find it on Amazon. It'll be ebook, regular book, and Audible as well. So,
And again, for the listeners, just let them know the title of the book.
The Serenity Solution.
I hope I'm getting my copy in the mail.
Yes, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
can't wait. I can't wait. So, Mackenzie, last question, right? If you could give one piece of advice to someone listening who wants to build something meaningful in their life or business, what would it be?
That is a great question. Really kind of going back to what I was saying about just taking action. I am very blessed that I was given the gift of just starting something. And I know not everybody has that gift. And it's half the reason that I've done anything that I've ever done up to this point. So don't be afraid to start. Just go take action today, even if it's just one small thing. If you're wanting to start a real estate team, go talk to somebody that has, just so you can learn a little bit about maybe what they didn't do right or wrong or whatever. Go find somebody to be your assistant first. That would probably be my biggest piece of advice. Don't start with a bunch of team members. Have an assistant first, because otherwise you're going to get in way over your head and not have any support staff. But no, just go take action on whatever it is that you're wanting to do, because I would hate for people to get to the end of their life and have a lot of regrets. I hope that I don't. So,
Mackenzie, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on our show and pouring into our listeners the way that you did. Your energy, your experience, and the hot-lit approach to business is exactly what more people need to hear right now. You've given us so much practical gold and a lot of encouragement to go do it messy, keep showing up, and build something that actually lasts. For everyone listening, if you're in real estate or thinking about getting into it, especially if you want to build a team or create more sustainable values driven business, go check out Mackenzie Shelton. Look up Prairie and Pine Real Estate Group. Follow her on Instagram at Mackenzie Shelton and the Production Solution for Agents, and reach out to her directly, whether you're looking for your next home, acreage, or real coaching and mentorship that actually moves the needle. She's the real deal. Mackenzie, you're always welcome back on the show. Thanks again. And everybody, go take one action today that your future self will thank you for. We'll catch you on the next episode. Take care. God bless. And don't forget, June 1st, Mackenzie's book's coming out. Make sure you go and grab it. Thank you so much.
thank you.